Hey everybody, Lee Stranahan. I'm going to let people come in. I'm just leaving the White House press briefing with the president that took place in the East Room of the White House. I'll let people come in. I'm going to move over here because it's better. How's everyone doing today? So, if you were just watching the president's press conference, he started with a statement on his nominee for Labor Secretary, Alex Acosta, and then it moved into a sort of wide-ranging reset of a speech on the accomplishments of the administration so far. I feel that as a reporter, this may have been a slight move up for me. I've gone from not being called on by Sean Spicer to not being called on by the president. So I do consider that somewhat of a promotion, really, if I look at that. Let me try to see if I can walk downstairs without falling. This will be enjoyable for everybody. By the way, if I do fall, I love my wife very much. So let me talk about this. So it's very, very interesting once again. It was very interesting to be in the middle of the hostile fake press. Very, very interesting. For one thing, if you watch the press conference, there were about a zillion questions on Russia. And the question I would have asked, had I been called on, was that there's been absolutely no conclusive proof that Russia was behind the DNC or DCC hacks that have been that's been come out publicly. In fact, the main information that connects Russia to the DNC and DCCC hacks comes from CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike was a group that was hired by the Democrats and working for the Democratic Party. Let's be clear on that. That's the main source of the information, including the information that the IC, the intelligence community, but we like to call it IC because it sounds cooler. Also, if you say it fast, it sounds like icy. That's a true fact. But the information that we have from the IC actually comes from this group CrowdStrike. So my question, by the way, I wouldn't have made that joke about IC had the president called on me. I'm just going to point that out so you'll know I'm a professional. But the question I had there was, without revealing anything that would jeopardize national security, could the president say that he's heard anything that conclusively connects Russia to the hacks? Because this is the sort of underlying premise that has been repeated by the media over and over and over again. And yet there's absolutely no conclusive proof for it. And I've interviewed multiple tech people on this, and I was probably the only reporter in that room who actually dealt with Guccifer 2, the person who we know was behind the hacks, that everyone admits was behind the hacks. When I dealt with Guccifer 2, I had no evidence whatsoever that Guccifer 2, no reason to think it was a foreign government. It seemed like a weird thing for a foreign government to do. My follow-up would have been about the labor secretary and whether, but it was you couldn't get that in because everybody was talking about Russia. So, once again, it was fascinating. It was great to be in a press conference. Just being in a press conference here was very, very interesting. And I was that close to being called on. I mean, they called on Major Garrett, who was in front of me. They called in a couple people around me. Jim Acosta from CNN was right in front of me, forward and to the left there. And no, I didn't push him over when he was standing on a giant apple box. I didn't do that. No, don't even suggest it because that would be unprofessional, and I'm nothing if not professional. Hey, speaking of which, I'm going to be hosting Breitbart News daily tomorrow on Sirius XM. I should point that out. I hosted today 3 hours, 6 to 9. I'll be on tomorrow, 6 to 9. Today's show was great. We had John Bolton, former UN ambassador. We had Sebastian Gorka, dude who's been lied about and smeared in the media recently. We had Sebastian Gorka on. We had my friend Albert Guillory, the first black Republican elected to the Louisiana State Senate since Reconstruction. Hang on one second. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't leave my wallet in the White House. Hang on. I just checked. I did that little pat-down thing people do. By the way, I'm sure I'm the only reporter here who was worried about their wallet being left in the White House. Then I'd have to go back and get it. I did see as people entered. I did see Steve Bannon. Did see Steve Miller. They didn't see me because they probably weren't looking at the press, and I didn't go like, "Hey, Steve. Hey, Steve." I didn't do that. I'm not sure since he started dressing nicely if he's allowed to talk to me. I'm not really sure of that. But anyway, fascinating atmosphere. Once again, I think the president's statements, whoever wrote that, and I got to believe that Bannon and Miller were behind it in some way. Let me tell you a saying Andrew Breitbart used to say. Andrew Breitbart was asked by a presidential candidate in 2012 for advice. And I'm not going to mention who it is, but he told that presidential candidate, oh, I'll tell who it is. It was Newt Gingrich. So Newt Gingrich asked Andrew Breitbart in 2012 if he'd seen the debates and if he had any advice. And Andrew told him, he said, well, going after the media always works for me. And so you'll remember in 2012, Newt Gingrich started going after the media, and it worked real well for Newt. I mean, it didn't get him the nomination. Too bad, because he probably would have done better than Romney. But that was Andrew's theory. And, once again, I think you saw that with President Trump. He went after the media squarely over and over and over again. And then they proceeded to prove him completely right. He said over and over and over again, the Russia thing is a bluff. It's a ruse. So I'm going to make the same suggestion to the president that I've made to Sean Spicer. I made it on Breitbart News Sunday by the way, if you have not done so, retweet this bad boy. But I'm going to make the same suggestion I made on Breitbart News Sunday. Stop calling on these people. Just stop calling on them. You give them a forum for their nonsense. That's what's going on. So why do that? I honestly think, and for whoever the bozo was who asked the question about the First Amendment, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Basically saying, if you don't, here, I'll do it. Ready? I'll do what he said. Watch. Ready? Here I go. I'm gonna do it in my Bill Murray voice from Caddyshack. Mr. President, by not calling on me, do you think you're violating the First Amendment? Right? I mean, because that's what these morons are doing, basically. They're saying, well, if you don't take the questions we decide, you're violating the First Amendment, like the president doesn't have First Amendment rights or something like that. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And here's the thing. Let me tell you the worst part about the questions from the media, the jackals who I was in that room with. By the way, I'm surprised one of them didn't pull off my arm and start eating it, to be honest with you. Not because they're jackals, but because we were in there a while and you get hungry. I just admit that. But honestly, these are the jokes, folks. But honestly, the questions that they ask don't make the public any smarter. They repeat the same dumb questions that are based on no actual, like I say, I guarantee you I'm the only person in there who's actually talked to Guccifer. I guarantee you. And by talked, I mean talked online. I'm the only person in there who's actually talked to Guccifer. I'm the only person in there, I guarantee you, who interviewed multiple technical people trying to get to the bottom of the Russia thing. Guarantee you. By the way, I'll be repeating a lot of this in Breitbart News Radio. So do me a favor, if you've not done so already, retweet this puppy. What I should do is see how long I can do a Periscope before the Secret Service asks me to leave. Let me just see how long that'll work. Oh, let me point out something else. So I went to my favorite, one of my favorite local restaurants, Hill Country Barbecue, and they were short-staffed today. And I asked them why they were short-staffed. This is an aside. By the way, it's going to make your head explode if you're a liberal, so get ready. So they were a little short-staffed, and they said, you have to hang on, we're a little short-staffed. And so they opened about 2 minutes late. Does that make sense? And so I asked the bartender, I said, what's the, why are you short-staffed today? And he said, oh, it's a protest. Today's the day without immigrants. So let me just point out how that went. Apparently okay. I know that's going to make a lot of people upset, but apparently on a day without immigrants, you get your barbecue 2 minutes later. That was it? Okay. I mean, it's a stupid protest because the president's not against immigrants. By the way, do you think his wife, an immigrant, took the day off? See how dumb this premise is? It's the stupidest premise in the world. The premise is, it's a protest based on the concept that the president, who's married to an immigrant, is somehow anti-immigrant, who employs immigrants. I talked about Martha, the waitress at the Trump International Hotel and Casino here, not casino, it's not a casino. It should be. It really should be. He should just allow wagering. And the best wager, the only thing they should let you bet on if they made the Trump International Hotel a casino in D.C. would be an over-under of how many stupid questions the media will ask. It's the only thing they should allow wagering on. By the way, you'd beat the spread every time. Every time. If you lose on football, you would beat the spread every time here. But I digress. But it's the stupidest premise for a protest in the world. But apparently, in a day without immigrants, you get your barbecue literally like 2 minutes late. I was able to get my barbecue, hop in an Uber, get over here, and make it in time for the press conference in order not to be called on. But here's the thing. I'm going to say this again. Wouldn't be here without you guys. I appreciate all the support. We did a crowdfunding thing on this. God bless you. Really appreciate the support. Do me a favor, if you've not done so already, retweet this puppy. I am clearly the most informed, the best educated on the issues, and funniest reporter who's allowed in the White House. Clearly. This isn't even close. Right? I mean, again, I'm the only actual investigative journalist in the room. I guarantee, like I say, almost, and on any issue that I know, I would make the other reporters look like the dopey talking heads that they are. You know, the only thing I've had to do is pretty up myself with this monkey suit. Which, by the way, let me point out something about, because people point out that I look dapper, because I do, I really do. But let me point out something about that, just so you know. I'm also keeping it real, because I am. I'm like a mullet. I know. How's that, you ask? Let me explain. So, I'm just going to show you this. So I look very nice up here, right? I got my scarf, I got my tie, I got my jacket, look very nice. But so, like a mullet, business in front, party in back, right? So I'm business up top, but if you look at my jeans. I'm wearing my Breitbart belt buckle. There we go. You see that? Decent, and don't make my wife go like this. But, you know, I'm still the same investigative reporter who runs out in the street to deal with the leftist America haters who protest this country and this president all the time. I'm still that dude. So, you know, I guess what I have to do is pull off the tie. Superman-like pull off the tie, go down my t-shirt, and then run around. But anyway, so another fascinating day here. Hope you retweeted it. I'm going to go, because everyone's pretty much leaving at this point. I'm going to go. But anyway, love you guys. Thanks very much. Talk to you later. Oh, by the way, I haven't done the obligatory. If you're not subscribed to the Stranahan Report, go to Stranahan.com. We're going to open up Citizen Journalism School, again, for one short day this weekend at a pre-opening thing that we're going to do. My son Shane came into town last night. It's great to see Shane. I got like 3 hours sleep because I was up at 4 this morning to do the radio show, so I should probably go take a nap. That's my plan. Anyway, love you guys. Bye.